Hello and welcome to another episode of Speculative Speculations. I'm Vasha.
I'm Jared.
And I'm the one Chris.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm Seven Apocalyptic Fudge.
I'm Five Pickle. Yes, I forgot.
And
I forgot to change my name.
yeah,
That's
this
too much.
is,
There's too much of a habit we're in. We gotta
yes,
stay on top of that, right?
I gotta introduce myself that way for the next 2 weeks. Anyway, this is Speculative Speculations, and we talk about speculative stories in all their forms. We are working our way through Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine. We do approximately 100 pages in whatever book it is that we are currently working our way through. Today's discussion is going to be chapters 9, 10, and 11 of this book. Next week, we'll be discussing chapters 12 through 15, I think. Was that right?
I think that's
Just
about
looked
right.
it up. Yeah. 12 through 15. And the short story for today, which we always discuss one, except when we don't, from the Big Book of Science Fiction, the IWM 1000 by Alicia, Yanez, Cossio, which is a very short story. And the short story for next week is going to be The House of Compassionate Sharers. We're just working our way through the books, so we're reading them in whatever order they appear in the Big Book of Science Fiction. If you'd like to read along with us, or have any books you're interested in reading along with us, let us know. But the next book that we're planning to read is Revelation Space by Alastair Reynolds. That's going to start in a few weeks from now. Join us on the Patreon forum if you'd like to talk to us about the book there or here in the actual podcast. That's everything. So we can start with some 8 antidote shenanigans.
Slight
I
correction,
remember
though.
correctly. Yes.
Slight correction, though, Varsha. I think we are doing on Halloween night, our recording. We are going
Oh,
to
yes.
do the recently released Arkady Martine novella, which
Called
is called
Rose House.
Rose House. That's the one.
Yes. It's a house haunted by AI, so it feels apt for this podcast and Halloween. Although
Wow.
Josh, who has read it, tells me it might be a bit of a stretch for Halloween, but we'll find out. That's how we'll do it here. We'll find out for ourselves.
Well, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm feeling haunted right now.
Yeah.
So yes, thanks, Chris, for that. But moving on to Desolation Called Peace. 8 antidote. That's where we start, I think. Attending another war meeting, where I don't know where my copy is. I can hold up the book thief instead if you like.
Yeah, you can hold that up. That has absolutely no relevance, but thank you for that, Varsha. That was very good. And
I was feeling left
nice.
out.
It does seem like a nice naked hard copy you have there. Yes, let's listen, called Peace. Do we start with the antidote? Do we? I don't know. It all
I
sort of
thought we
squishes together.
did.
Yeah, you could be right.
Yeah, I seem to recall starting. I think I literally just started reading
Yeah.
this
No,
yesterday.
we actually don't. I can actually correct you because we start with an interlude. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, is that? Oh, that's right.
You are wrong.
No,
I'm wrong. Damn it.
Yes, you are wrong.
we read the interlude last time.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, that's why I didn't read the interlude last time, and I started with the interlude this time. So we're
I see.
both
No,
wrong
you're
or
wrong
both right.
again. The interlude was before chapter 8. Sorry.
What the hell?
Vash was right. We start with don't contradict the boss here. We start with 8 antidote, chapter 9.
So yeah, I know because I started that chapter 3 times before I actually sat down and read it.
I still maintain that I didn't start with the antidote. I started with the antidote. but it antidote was almost certainly the correct place to start. So yes, it antidote, our friend. Sorry.
Oh boy.
Okay.
All right. Off to a rocking start here.
Absolutely. I'm gonna shut up for the next 10 minutes.
He shows up to a war meeting. He enters, maybe for the first time, the ministry from the front gate and not through the ducts. Feels mighty proud of himself. Loves I'm loving all the introspection that Eight Antidote is having. It's the strange mix of grown up and child,
Mhm.
which I'm not I'm not sure how much we're supposed to read as the clone, right? His nature, because of the fact that he's the clone, and that's showing itself. It's almost like he's got an imago at this age. It
Mm.
could read that way. All the second guessing and the, oh, I'm behaving like a child, but I he has all these adult thoughts about how childish he is being. Um, or is he just being a kid? Is he just an adolescent who's sort of like maybe slightly bigger than his shoes? What do you guys think?
Huh.
I think the fact that he's the clone just gives him a slight separation from not being a child because people don't treat him like a child. And as the sort of like emperor elect as he sort of seems to be because he's got the face and the knowledge and all of that kind of stuff before people are treating him differently. They're a child. They don't they let him into rooms that he shouldn't be in. They have conversations with him about things they wouldn't normally speak to even somebody within the own government about. Like he's being let in and given a look behind the lens that he has no right to do. And realistically, what's happening, I think, is that everybody's making a play for power with him, and for influence long term. And in some very subtle ways, because I made this in when he comes back later on in a couple of chapters, he is being trained and he's being molded very, very carefully by some of the people. And he seems not really aware of that in the way he just thinks he's being super smart and he's been clever and he's doing all this things, but he's been very carefully molded by these people, and to the point that we get to that he questions what he should be doing at all because of that kind of that conditioning he's been put under.
Yeah. Very good, Chris. Nice recovery. Um,
Thank you.
the yeah, I think he's a I think he's a lot a product of um nurture. Uh and that if because if you're a kid, if you're in he has of course he's an intelligence kid, he has a natural aptitude for stuff. But if you're a kid and you've been constantly been treated like an adult for most of your life, you're going to act like that as well. And so I think you're right on there, Chris, with that eh, his 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 mannerisms don't surprise me, uh, given his position at all. And yeah, you wonder how much he's going to figure it out on his own, or how much is going to be because 19 ASD seems to be um, telling him some things too, that that watch out for yourself, and what keep an eye on things, and that gives him that sense of grown up importance. And it also allows him to keep that wary eye, and when we see his thoughts reflect that as well. So it's pretty cool. I really like how she's writing the character, because she has a lot of adult influence to help him figure out stuff. And I don't like it when kids are written to figure out stuff on their own without that kind of input. When they're all of a sudden they're this 10, 11-year-old kid, and they're playing with dolls or playing in the backyard, and all of a sudden out of nowhere they can just figure stuff out like the adults do. Whereas in this case, he's primed to do that, and he has been. And I like the way it's written. I like how she's doing that.
Yeah, and I love that line. He's straddling between being a child and being an adult. Especially, I think it particularly stood out in that moment when he realizes all the politicking that's going on in the war meeting, like when 16 Moonrise's message is played, and he realizes the existence of all these dynamics, and you get the sense of him feeling like he's a kid who is overhearing things that he shouldn't, but he's being shown this stuff, but he's unclear whether he's expected to understand as much as he does, whether people think that he won't, and that's why they feel comfortable sharing with him. And so, like, I love that, second level of introspection of what he feels plus what he thinks the others are feeling about what he might or might not get out of this. So that, and I like that second guessing, I vaguely recall from my childhood sometimes, like, oh, I feel like I've had some conversation happen in front of me that probably they wouldn't have if they thought I got any part of it. So and so I love that, like that whole cycle of analysis that he's doing with it, with this character.
Yeah, and he's also still behaving like a child because he still wants to show off. He still wants
Yeah.
to be praised. He still wants to fit in with people that he knows he probably shouldn't be around, etc. So like, there's definitely, you're not confused that he's a young child at any stage, even though he's presented as being very smart and all of these kind of things and very introspective. He still has many of those childlike qualities. And I still go back. It's not often that I do this, but I picked a quote and said, in antidote quote, it says, "Don't trust anyone who makes you feel good without knowing why they want you to feel that way." And I still feel I felt it was foreshadowing at the time, and it feels even more so now. I'm just going to put it out there because this might be the first time in 2.5 years that I might have predicted something in the first conversation and it actually came true. So I'm double down on
it. Good call.
Well, see, I'm probably
take the
still
credit
wrong.
when you can. All right.
Nah, I'm not gonna say anything. All right.
Well, actually,
Yeah. He's about to die in the next chapter.
Yeah. Oh.
To that point, though, there is a possibility. Like that, again, that's one of the things I really like about this. I don't feel like there's any character safe, with the
Yeah.
exception of one.
Mahit?
Mahit, yeah. I think like Mahit's the only one that's actually got plot armor here at all. I don't think the book works in the same way. Like, obviously, we could get the end of this book and she sacrifices herself for something in a sort of noble way, but I feel like she's the only one with plot armor. Three Seagrass would probably be next, but I could see Three Seagrass being
Serving
expendable.
Mahit's story a little bit. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I see that.
I don't know.
I
I don't think there's any. Well, I don't know. You said sacrifice herself and plot armor in the same sentence. That doesn't quite work. But
I mean, that's fair.
I think being the end of a duology, anything goes.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. That's right.
But I have a wild theory, which I'm like 120% is not true, but I'm trying to figure out. So this is my stop on the way to figuring out just what the hell.
Can I just point out the
Yeah.
maths of that sentence was insane? But keep going, please.
Sorry, Chris.
I'm 120% sure that it's not true. I like that. I like that.
This is my stop on the way to detective work to figure out.
Love it. I want to hear it,
But-
and I hope it is true because it's going to make this 120% really seem really even more insane. But let's go.
Well, wait for the theory before you want it to be true. But so you know how Mahit dressed up like 19 ads and she showed up. I wonder if she's going to be an emperor or ruler of some sort.
Oh.
for takes command. I don't think so. Like I said, it's most certainly not true. But I really want to know where they're going with this. Like, why 19 ads? Sure, she commands the room and whatnot, but she's also currently emperor. So just exactly what are we trying to do here, both from the character's point of view and the story point of view. That's all.
Okay, I'll jump on that theory.
Okay.
Plus one it. So obviously the previous Emperor 6/One Direction had the clone made of the antidote. 19 actually doesn't have that, but she does and is very well aware of the Imago technology. And she has a previous relationship with Iskander. And she obviously has a fondness, I think, for Mahit. There is the possibility, and it's also introduced in these chapters that the Imago lines can go, multiple deep, 10, 20 people, can go inside one person's head. It could be that 19 becomes part of Mahit, or vice versa. Like, absolutely, the thing could be true. And we get all of our favorite characters into one. It's like almost like why write why write 10 favorite characters in one book when you can just combine them into one character and just tie that on the next series? It's genius in some ways.
Like the Wheel of Time collapsed several Aes Sedai into one character, we will collapse all our favorite characters.
And we could have been done in 6 books. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's a bit late, but yes, I like this idea. If only Arkady Martine had to get in there earlier. But I like the theory indeed. Yes, I do.
Because so the first soldier's reaction was unclear. It almost felt like, oh, she's being stupid. But then Three Seagrass's reaction when she saw her, like that moment of what's the word I'm looking for? Dissociation, I think she has. That was intense. I feel like that's telling us something. I just don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You guys done? You guys done with the full?
Well, not quite yet. The one thing that I'll do, she's doing pretty much the same thing that Antidote is doing by virtue of being the clone. I mean, Antidote is presenting to people as the Emperor and as a position of power, and she's sort of doing the same thing by sort of representing herself as 19 Nazi to just get that little bit of an edge within the room, and
Yes.
Again, trying in a place where she is the barbarian and the outsider, she is starting, even through these couple of chapters, starting to rise a little bit in the viewpoint of these people that hate her and want to see the back of her a little bit. She's commanding a little bit of respect where she has no right to have any.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that parallel. It makes perfect sense. And she's also a little bit of a spy, trying to work both sides.
Yep.
Unable to figure out who she's loyal to or who she wants to be loyal to.
And there's spies everywhere as well.
great.
16 Moonrise and Antidote and Mahit and 3 Seagrass, and they're all spies. It's great.
Yes. Yeah.
No, I really like that. I really like that that parallel between Mahit and 8 Antidote. That's actually quite fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
This book has so many levels, and I think that's why I'm really enjoying reading it. There's so much going on in every scene, because every scene has more people in the scene than are in the scene, if that makes sense. So everybody else has an agenda for somebody else, or has somebody else in their head. So 2 people are talking, but there's actually 6 people talking in some ways, and there's such complexity in those scenes, which then creates such tension within the scenes that it's just like the most Moorish book from a sci-fi sense to read. That's just what I'm really finding. Every chapter has something really juicy to get into.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. Yeah, especially the those juicy aliens. Wow. Those are great. really, what a great encounter.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. I was just loving reading about that whole thing. And I had to slow myself down to stop from just flying through it too fast, because it was it's like it just felt such an iconic alien encounter that she pressed all the right buttons when it came to What do you want with your alien encounters? This is it right here. This is what you want. You got you got an impossible language to get through. You got the threat of like a horror type threat hanging over you with what these aliens can do to you. They're definitely more physically powerful
Hmm.
than our humans, and you you have you have you have the backdrop of a military ready to all itchy trigger fingers ready to go at it, and you have just the alien planet setting. You have
Hmm.
the environmental considerations bearing down on them, and like everything you want in an alien encounter. That was it, and I ate it up. I loved it.
And so interesting to compare because I'm sure it thought for each one of you it evokes story of your life and others, or the movie Arrival, but that does it in a very different way. In which case, that it's almost like an isolation chamber that those events happen in.
Yeah.
Whereas this one has that all that other stuff. We
Yes.
don't know nothing about the aliens here. We know quite a bit about the aliens here. The environmental issues. I just think that it's almost like a ticking time bomb that even if they say everything perfectly, the environmental issues might mean that they just are overcome by and make rash decisions and all of that kind of stuff. So it just felt so interesting, and especially because we cut away from it in the middle of it and we go back to Nine Hibiscus, and they basically say, "Oh, we've got a message from the planet," and we don't know what had happened and where they were and what was going on. Like it's so much intrigue going on in this book. It's so good.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think I was saying that it might I was hoping for a rival like encounter or like language figuring out between these two. It's not quite like that, but it's great in its own way. I think Arrival has such a big focus on the process of, I think, figuring out what they're saying and
That's right.
the analysis, which they do too. But I feel like it got over in that one chapter we got of Mahit and Three Seagrass working together. I'm going to guess that there won't be much more dwelling on just the process of figuring out how to communicate. They've got words, they know how to get more, and we're done. so I but it's still great. Like this alien feels so alien and so different, and they're like singing and oh, um, as- I didn't think of it when I was reading it, but now I think of the whole resonance stuff. Embassy Town comes to mind a
Yes,
little
yes.
bit. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
A communal thing
Yeah.
that they were
yeah.
doing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with Three Seagrass and Mahit, which I love that picture of them harmonizing, trying to
Mhm.
talk to the aliens.
And,
So
and also, and also, without cutting across you too much, the
yeah,
idea when they represented, when they're trying to do the interpretation, that when they were trying to understand what they were saying, they give the multiple versions, which either means no
yeah,
or they kept that in
yeah,
the reasoning, which I thought was wonderful. It wasn't like, oh, we think this is probably no, but no, this is
yes,
could be no or something else or something else.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
like
That's
that.
great. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They weren't drawing conclusions. It's okay. We are on. They stuck to abstractions because I seem to recall reading another book where they were just like using specific words, but we're still working our way there. So it's okay, we are navigating. It could be pilot, it could be flying, it could be moving, whatever. So the they could be referring to a higher level of abstraction. Yeah, that bit was great too. So I have a question. And so at first I thought there were sort of radio signals that they got, which they very well might be, but they are sound, right? That's what it becomes clear in the planet. But sound doesn't travel in space. So how did they send the sound that's nauseating them? I mean, a simplest explanation is that they were probably on radio waves or something. But um, was there a mention of that? I don't know. It broke my brain a little bit yesterday when I was reading
Yeah.
it, but yeah,
if you think of how we transmit radio, we only transmit it on certain frequencies and in certain wave bands as well, so that wouldn't happen. Those
Mm,
kind of outside kind of feelings that they're having that you would expect maybe that you get in person, but certainly over radio waves it would be clipped top and bottom.
mm,
The furrier would do that coming
mm,
out. So it doesn't make a great deal of sense. But also, this isn't Earth, so their radio system and communication system may be different, and they may be just getting it through the cloud hook, which seems to be more what's the word? I was going to say intravenous, but intravenous is not. But more integrated with the brainwaves.
mm.
Maybe has a connection that is
Yeah.
more than just sound and interpretation at that stage. All things are possible, but I hadn't considered that. It is a good scientific question to ask, though. Good
Yeah.
sci-fi question, partly.
there's there's also the okay, I guess another possible explanation is the whole jump gate-ness of it all. Apparently the aliens can jump through space. Like there is, I think, subspace or hyperspace, whatever it is that they use for jump gate. So we can potentially say the sound came through that. I suppose that's an alternative explanation, because all the signal is spoken of as sound, uh not the light spectrum uh
Mhm.
with encoding. So anyway, that was a
Yeah.
question I had.
I love that term cloud hook.
Yes.
I think that's a
Hmm,
great term for
it is.
somebody needs to like grab that and use it in real life for some new invention, you know.
Yes. And not call it Google Glass.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
No,
Because that's what I keep
Meta.
seeing.
glasses,
Yeah.
Google yeah. Call it something cool like cloud hook, you know.
Yes. Um so I guess we go back to the stuff before the final alien negotiation section, where Maheta and Three Seagrass are off sulking and feeling bad. The Iskandar's conversation with Maheta about it all, I think. Uh, I forget the details of it all, but I like that. I like the voice in her head that she can
Mhm.
uh, have a conversation with to decide how reasonable she
Yeah.
was feeling.
I think everybody should get one of those.
Right?
Yeah.
I was thinking that too.
I think people would calm down a lot more if they had one of those in their heads.
Or go wild like that. What's her name? Amnar Bad woman.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that, yeah.
I mean, also a nice link to our short story coming up though as well.
That's true.
That idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So there are two main interactions that sit outside this, I think. So, or two main characters. So obviously, 16 Moonrise has the meeting with Mahit
Yeah.
in
A little
her
bit of
quarters, so to speak. Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of hand-to-hand combat there.
Yes. And again, on a knife edge, the whole conversation. The
Yeah.
again relative to the last book when Mahit goes back to her quarters and is tried to be assassinated at that time, and she thinks the same thing is happening here, and it's not, but also it sort of is because she's been warned off and yeah, being pumped for information a little bit, to see what's going on. So that there's a tension again right the way through that scene.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. And I also love how it started with um with Mahit feeling like she's been attacked and expecting that poison needle. I thought that was so brilliant, because that's another thing. This The author is walking such a fine line. There's of like dealing with grief and trauma without really harping on it, but reminding us that bad things happen to these characters, right? Like there was one mention at some point about 12 Azalea, that they when I think it was on the deck or somewhere, where they took their places next to each other, um, ambassador and SC Krita, however you say that, and the shadow of or the ghost of 12 Azalea that was missing
That's right.
between them. Like those little mentions of things that are sources of grief and tension for our characters, but we're not like dwelling on it, we're not wallowing in it, but they are there brought up enough times to make our characters real. They're not ignoring it and moving on as if it never
Yeah.
happened. But it's not that their personality has become all about that thing that happened to them, right? Like it's doing this really good job of keeping our characters real through all of that. So I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. I absolutely love that quote. I wrote that one down as well. The two of them and the ghost of 12 Azalea like an echo, an imago that would never exist. That thought was like a fish hook through your lip, a sudden and capturing pain. And
Ooh,
it's it was so good.
that's great.
And there are lots of instances like that in the book, but again, I think it's a play in this idea that some people have clones, some people have imagos, but everybody has experiences that teach them things and that stay with them regardless of what's happening. Like the death of 12 Azalea is such a major moment for three seagrass in their life that a person is always with them, even though they're not an imago, even though they're not a clone or they're not there in presence. It's like a fish hook that every time they think of them, stabs physical pain in their body, and it's just this lovely reminder of the impact that people and things have on each other, regardless of on what form that takes. That's just so good.
I love you bringing up the fact that Mahit was expecting a poison attack
Mm.
again, because then later on in in the later chapter 19, Asdi is speaking with 8 Antidote about 11 Laurel, his teacher, and he's speaking to him about she's speaking to him about the technician's garden of the war ministry grows all sorts of flowers, little spy, she
Hmm.
tells him, but especially the sort that poisons. That's what a weapon is. A, a poison, a weapon is poison, no matter what that form that weapon takes, and and whether it's dangerous or not depends on who is holding it. And so that was like some really pretty kind of deep advice to be given to a kid, but she doesn't hold back with him at all, it seems. And like we brought up earlier, she's treating him like an adult almost, or given the appearance of treating him like adult, so that he takes that in as if he takes that importance in, you know,
But
and that in itself is another kind of poison. And so it's just so good.
it's so good. Yeah, it's like I said, right, that scene is just it's so powerful. She is grooming him and
Oh
training
yeah,
him and
absolutely.
manipulating him with every word, just like she's done with everybody. It's not out of character for her in any
Not out of
way.
character,
Uh,
and yeah, he's not the first, and he won't be the last,
and
most
he won't be
likely.
the last. But I just love how she does it by
Or he might
saying
be.
almost nothing. She gives him so little, but you can feel his mind spinning. Should I tell her about this? No, I'll not. I
Oh
can't. I
yeah,
can't betray that confidence and all that. And just teasing everything out of him, almost to the point that she already knows every answer to every question, even though he's the spy. It's almost like it's a test of his loyalty
yeah.
and of what she will be told.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So
I don't want to tell on my teacher, but then eventually he does, and it's
yeah,
just
yeah, big.
Yeah. Sorry. What else? I feel like
oh,
that.
what about the
Yeah.
kid?
Kid. Oh, that was so
The kitten. You take a kitten to a bar and get drunk,
Well then, yeah, but then the priest guy had a kitten too,
That's true. Was it the same
and
kitten? That's
it
what
was
I'd
the
like
same
to know.
kid. Yeah, it was the same kitten. Yeah, and and I thought that was hilarious. I thought you hated these things, and he's like, "Yeah, I do." He's sitting there petting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It won't let me
But
go.
also also a potential Cordwainer Smith crossover. Just throwing that out there.
Yes.
So the aliens are actually just another kind of dragon. All right.
Oh.
Yeah.
The rats and dragons now, huh? Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you
So
think the
the other Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, because you're going to ask. I heard you going to say kitten. I was going to move on to something
Oh,
else.
I was going to ask if it was a stupid question. I was going to ask if the kittens will become important in the defeat or communication with the aliens, but I feel like they're just there for cuteness. Let's go.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if you've met a cat before. They're almost certainly interested in world domination here. In fact, they're probably behind the whole invasion in the first place.
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. Okay. Yeah. All right. Keeping my eyes peeled on that cat. All right. Go ahead, Chris.
So, yes, I was going to say 12 cicada or 20 cicada, whichever number it is. I can't actually
20,
remember.
I
It's
think.
20 cicada. So the swarm just becomes the most mysterious, alluring person. And I think it is quite possible, and I think this was sort of hinted at, that there's more than one of him.
Oh, really?
Really?
Well, this idea of the swarm and the fact that he is sort of everywhere and has spies all over the place and that kind of stuff. I'm not convinced that there's not clones of him. Otherwise, that was sort of in the subtext to me. And again, this is just me speculating as well. But between the sort of almost cultish thing that he's got going on, the kind of tattoos and the skin grafts and that kind of stuff in his arm, and he always seems to have loads going on. It's just something going on there.
Interesting. I like that.
Hmm.
That makes sense. Yeah, there is something up with that guy. And it would be cool for a guy named Swarm to have clones. That feels necessary.
That's
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just some really the main the end of the last chapter when nobody died was in italics. That was an interesting use of my italics in that particular spot. What does that mean? Why did she choose to do that? It made me wonder, but I think we'll see. But I think it's something that I think it's telling us something for the future here, and I'm not sure what. But
indeed.
Oh no, 3 seagrass is going to die. Oh, do you think?
But maybe they've been implanted with something to take back, possibly to the ship. That will murder the whole ship. I don't know. That's definitely a possibility. It also sort of brings back the question that I posed last week. I have no idea where this book is going. Zero.
Yeah.
No idea whatsoever.
Well, I don't know. You guys made some pretty solid predictions earlier.
Yeah, we've such a good track record for those that I feel that like I may as well read on just to see if there's a chance they could be incorrect.
I'm going the way of Chris with my predictions.
120%.
I wonder if the nobody died italics is a reference to 12 Azalea again. But
could be, yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. I love the layers and the levels in this book. And like I said, I have no idea where it's going, how it all comes together with the 8 antidote thread and the Mahit and 3 seagrass thread.
And the Ilsel Station thread. So we got,
Yeah.
But back to Akuru, you had the confrontation with the Heritage and
the pilot.
Yeah.
Head of the pilots and the
head
and
of
the
Heritage.
Heritage, yeah, right, yeah.
Yes, a more fascinating like subtext between that, almost as well confirming that they have set up this invasion. They basically said, you organized this invasion, this alien force. This is your doing, as much as the Mahit and Iskander. This idea that those two had to be gotten rid of at the same time. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And also that subversive comic that they were reading, in which someone's trying to preserve heritage better than heritage. That leads back to, that's making me think of some of the, I guess, religious fundamentalism. I wonder if that's a reference to that, or
Mm.
as a concept in and of itself. But that I was just having a discussion about this with my husband today. But the people who aren't fighting for the protection of said state of affairs, they're maybe doing a greater service to the thing that this person is protecting. Like, they might even be harming them. That's kind of what Amnarbat is doing. And I love that exchange between her and the pilot counselor, I forget who. um, but a lot of people had highlighted it. I also highlighted that quote. But uh, about that she's going to take it was about how she's going to take unilateral decisions, that she's going to protect this, she that it's her liking for it is greater than the job that she's doing. But um yeah, I love that thread of what's going on with heritage, and I like that abstraction that she's added, because I guess the religious fundamentalism that I mentioned is sort of an instance of that kind of thought process, right? That the thing that you're trying to protect, you would start to harm it in the process of protecting it, maybe. Um, so calling it heritage is very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
theme.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I really appreciate the inclusion of the comic books uh, in there, and how she was holding on to it in her jacket and stuff like that. That was great.
Yeah, this very fine details. It's like looking at, not that I've ever done this, so I don't know why I'm choosing to compare it to this, but like looking at a painting, and if you stare at it long enough, you start to see details that you haven't seen before. And like that, yeah, I love it. I love this book. As if we haven't said it enough times already
It's
today.
going very well.
Yeah.
Like I, it's funny because you always wonder about about a sophomore slump,
Mhm.
and this book is so far surpassing the first one even, and I really love the first one,
Yeah.
and I am like thrilled beyond means that this one is better so
Yeah.
far. I mean, we'll see if she sticks a landing, but man, it's good.
Eh,
It's really good.
in much the same way as when we got to the end of Memory Call Empire, I was like, I have no idea where this is going next.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would even begin to formulate a sequel to this story, and yet, in some ways, the plot is almost irrelevant to how much I'm enjoying this story, because it's the interworkings of everything that's been set up in this universe and all these kind of different layers and levels, and how you can just write scene after scene after scene with tension in it. It's almost reminiscent of Game of Thrones and kind of those character elements when they would get, you'd wait, books and books for two characters to be put in the same room together just to see how what happens,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
and sort of get that. And there's lots of that within this book as well. I think Arkady should be writing TV and films as well as fiction in this way, because I think there's a real talent to both designing a world but also creating characters that are covert and interesting and smart enough that every scene with them is almost dynamite. Even 11-year-old kids, like, kids are such throwaway characters in a lot of books, unless they're the main protagonist or something, like the chosen one. But in this case, just the way that Eight Antidote just keeps coming back in the story, not really at the center of everything, but almost just sitting in the periphery the whole time. It's just so fascinating.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of like you said, another child character that's like not the center of the story that you enjoy reading about so much,
Yeah.
it would be tough to come up with one.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think of, not that I cataloged it, but
Well, I can take Fionn Arath out of that. I can take that little brat.
who?
Fionn Arath.
Oh,
Wars Light and
uh,
Shadow. That little prick.
that's true. Yeah, he was technically young enough to be kid.
Yeah.
Annoying brat. Okay.
Yeah, it is true. Like people tend to not write children characters as characters that you follow anyway, unless they are going to be like the Randall Thor or whatever of your book.
Mm,
Yeah.
So it is an interesting slant on the book, and especially because they're a clone of a character that we didn't really get to know in the first book. You know, we get to see them at the end, but we didn't get to see them. We just seen the end of their life essentially.
yeah, yeah. And I do love the questions of nature versus nurture that this
Mhm.
clone is raising, because he seems naturally inclined towards certain things. Is that his upbringing as the emperor heir, or is it because he's a clone, or maybe a combination of the two? So, yeah, I like
Very
that.
cool stuff. Yeah.
Very cool stuff. Anything else that we've left out that we should talk about before we move on to, I think, of what is a very fascinating short story too.
The iPhone. Yeah.
The IWM 1000.
Yes, aka iPhone 17. No, no, not
Yeah.
17. Way before that. But okay,
23.
Yeah.
What?
So
that's a
synopsis
cute
of
switch. Yes.
the IWM 1000 is, and it's only 3 pages long, which was perfect length. Wonderful, if you ask me. It basically talks about a time in a future when people will have an item of technology that will give them all the knowledge that they will ever need or want, that they they carry around with them, that they will not need or look for knowledge, but that ultimately that will bring about such social unrest and problems that people will long for an older way of life of knowledge and of knowledge acquisition and that kind of stuff. So yes, it's eerie.
It's wow, prescient as hell. Like I was just like reading this, and I'm just like, wow, wow. How did she do that in 1975? It's just like incredible. I really enjoyed it. I was like, I love the first line. I was like, all the professors disappeared, swallowed and digested by a new system. How does that so accurate reflects what's happening in academia today? It's uncanny, uncanny.
Yeah. And the fact that people lost the ability to read and write, as it was seen as not important within the story, the levels of literacy are dropping through the
Yep.
floor, and will drop even further, I would imagine, over the next while. Even to the point that later on the book, when they try and relearn the stuff, they start with I-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U. You know, they start with vowels, very really rudimentary stuff. To accentuate that point, yeah, there are so many things that she touches on that I think are so interesting. And yet, 1975 is late enough that computers were a thing
They were,
at that
yeah,
stage. So,
yeah.
but not obviously in anywhere near the level of this. In fact, they talk about it was so small that it could be a briefcase. Even our author here couldn't predict
No.
that it could go even smaller.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's true. But I mean, the quote at the beginning, "A man is only what he knows" by Francis Bacon, was just brilliant. And and it goes on. It eventually comes to the point where people want to return to the past, but it's too late. And some tried to put aside their iPhones, but they would felt too defenseless. And she even refers to some people only had the IWM 100 version.
That's right.
There's different versions of the iPhone. And so I was just like, wow, it was great. I really in 3 pages, and I thought that was so much was packed into that 3 pages. They return to, she brings up this magical land that people got rid of their machines, and went a little too far, went a little too native, climbing the trees and stuff. But it was it was funny. It was so funny, but it was also just so relevant to today. I was just like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Do you think it's more who do you want to, I say, point finger at as the IWM 1000? Like, the iPhone is the device, I imagine, but is it ChatGPT the loss of knowledge, or because
Yeah.
in the introduction they wrote Google, I guess they mean search, but that's still, I think, something requiring active involvement in research. um I feel like maybe the agentic AI stuff has maybe
Yeah.
brought us to the point in this book.
I think you could say the IWM 100 is the internet and IWM 1000 is the integrated AI. And
Mm,
I just laughed at in 1975, the questions that people would be asking of such a device. So, what does hybrid mean? How do you make a chocolate cake? How many inhabitants are there actually in the world? What is the distance from Earth to Jupiter? I googled it. It's 775.02 million kilometers. How can you get rid of freckles? How many asteroids have been discovered this year? What is the function of the pancreas? I mean, these are all very apt things that people Google about. Like that was
yeah,
definitely
Oh yeah.
a thing, you know. So I just laughed at that so hard.
it's interesting though. Those things, the easy accessibility of them, I think would make it so more people have more knowledge than less.
Mm,
It's not um it's equating the knowledge of facts to, I guess, there is a certain indication of the loss of intelligence, I suppose, because of the
yeah.
device, which I think is because you don't think. And like, none of these things really require you to think and figure out the answer for yourself. So yeah, I guess I take a mild issue with those being the examples, but yeah, sorry, just a little bit of a tangent there.
But society has been sort of taken over with knowledge acquisition versus learning. You know,
Mm,
you don't learn about the distance from Earth to Jupiter in context of studying cosmology or astronomy. You
yeah,
just Google the fact, and
that's
just
true.
to have that piece of knowledge,
Mm,
which I think's an interesting tack. I didn't know it was going to be useful at this time, but I seen a TikTok during the week where a young person of say 20, had said, "What did people do before the internet when you didn't know anything?" And somebody of say my age had responded and says, "You just didn't know the answer, and you were happy with it. There was no way to acquire that knowledge easily. It was just not a thing. You just didn't know shit." I
yeah,
mean, this is, and people just go, "What do you mean you just weren't able to find it? It's that just you could have went to the library and started hunting through information, but you just didn't bother. You just kind of went, I don't know."
yeah. Or it's a great conversation starter with someone
Yeah.
who might know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you find somebody who does know. Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
you actually have uh, social relations and a life and what have you. But
Ugh, ugh.
What is that, sir?
you know,
What are these words you are saying?
yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's all overrated. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah.
Let's throw this
And,
story out.
and hilariously, if it wasn't for those advances, we would never be sitting on a Friday night with each other having
That's
this
true.
Yeah.
conversation. So,
Well, yeah.
That is true. We just would never have met.
exactly right. So, one of the things that I really find fascinating is actually towards the end is how people would return to physical objects like holding books and that kind of stuff. And even now, that's
Yeah.
exactly true. Physical books still outstrip
Oh yeah.
um, digital book sales, and the return of music as a band capacity is almost all physical at these days. People aren't buying digital. That's all they're renting digital. That they're doing that kind of stuff, but the actual physically, tangibly and it's actually been led in large part by generations younger than the people who had it. If that
Mm.
makes sense, which I think's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yes, it
certainly
is.
is.
Cultural artifacts.
I like that. That's a good term. Cultural artifacts. Okay. Anything else before we wrap up the episode?
No, it was good. That was a good reading week. Great
Good.
bit of the
Yes.
story. Great short story. The only
Good read.
downside is that next week's short story is 18 pages long.
Ooh.
I am not happy about that. It's,
No,
I
me
will
neither.
find a way to mysteriously be busy at work. No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna try.
I didn't get it done this week. Yeah,
Maybe it's great though. Maybe it's a great story.
Maybe it
it
is.
could
That's all
be.
that matters.
Yes, it's got a
Although
great
the
name.
hmm
Yeah. Yeah.
it's I remember the author Michael Bishop, but I forget.
Michael Bishop. The
The
House of
House of
Compassionate
Compassionate
Shares.
Shares. Yes. Okay.
Mm.
Sounds good to me. Oh, we are 2 stories away from a George R.R. Martin story.
Yes, I've
Interesting.
seen that. Yes, we have
Hmm.
a Billy Barrington one next week, or the week after as well. So
Oh,
that's another person I've been wanting to read.
oh, interesting. I don't think I've heard of this author. That should be interesting.
Classic sci-fi author of
Okay.
some renown, I would say. Yeah.
Mm, okay.
Cool.
Fun. All right. So we will see you in a week, I think, or earlier than that, depending on when these episodes go. But we will discuss Rose House by Arkady Martine when we're done with A Desolation Called Peace. And then we'll be reading Revelation Space. If you'd like to join us for any of that, please consider checking out the Wagering Forum. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.